want you to see what I just recorded right now for this is demonic activity underway by a state actor, the people of the state, engaging what is harassment as an entity. And this is the demon that uses a dumpster truck to engage in relevant positioning, audible activity creation. And this is a sex offender that's operating nothing other than a commercial vehicle in the same way that you saw Amazon Prime group stalking with the state. This is universal waste group stalking with the state and engaging in what is the use of whatever it is that their function is, the same amplification. This is a demon that knows that I'm asleep. This is the reality of what you're dealing with. And this is a demon that knows where that I'm asleep. And also, this is something that you know when I've shown you the methods of directed light. The directed light on my ceiling, this is indicative to that very specific knowledge. This is how demons are targeting. So this demon operates a Universal Waste Systems vehicle. Universal Waste is very heavily documented in the act of also workplace harassment and terrorism and sexual violence in concert with the demons of Dominic Choi's Los Angeles Police Department. And the entity, including the LAPD, are group stalking with Universal Waste and the people of the state. And the demon-possessed, the mentally ill entity, the demon-possessed population that are hostile to being documented. If you take a look at what was documented about this entity, who is going to be literally deconstructed and exposed on the world scene, is hostile. And how do psychopaths exact retaliation? They engage in more of the same. And so this demon, who works for a dumpster company, who was a loser, who will be separated from any minor children that he has custody over, and you're going to permeate the lives of the people of the state that like to use their demon-possessed employees of Universal Waste to engage in group stalking with the corrupt law enforcement agencies with the state. You're going to permeate their lives in the same ways that they're engaging in terrorism with the corrupt law enforcement agency, because they're hostile losers who are exposed as group stalkers, okay? Demons, subject to mental examinations, going to federal prison. Okay, will be removed from the public in the ways in which you're showing you are engaged in ongoing harassment because you are a documented sex offender, engaged in the sexual violence while they're doing so. Okay, so I just want to, this is the context of this. This is the pattern of conduct elements of monitoring. What you're going to see is the actual trash receptacle is not inside of the concrete sectional, which is what I was trying to describe. It's not even inside, and there's nothing about it that creates this loud crashing sound. So what I want you to look at is, first of all, here comes this demon right now for purposes of monitoring. And this is what they're doing. Nothing that they're doing dragging these receptacles is creating loud crashing, banging. He's stalking in the path with light activity. He's also engaged in federal stalking. He's going to federal prison. He's also documented in a sex offense monitoring inside of the private space. This is a psychopath that's a threat to the public while engaging in what is monitoring in concert with the corrupt law enforcement agency and engaged in harassment while doing so. This truck is not a means of what is amplification of audible activity. Dragging those dumpster trucks does not create amplification that's going to disrupt your sleep, in the same way that the LAPD flying a helicopter at a great distance is not going to create amplified noise inside of your apartment. That's how demons are targeting, okay? And this is exactly what you're looking at, the same pattern, the same demonic activity underway through whatever the demons are doing, whatever they're doing, okay? This is how a population is targeting you, and it's absolutely demonic, and this is how you're going to engage in what is terrorism. This is how a demon-possessed entity is engaged in harassment. And then you're also understanding how that's going into what is the workplace. And you're also going to prosecute for what obviously is terrorism when you're stalking with engineered light, when you're stalking with a light source that's not even the sun, because you're an obsessed stalker. So while I am outside of capturing this video outside, all right, the entity is engaging. I want to be clear, this same exact pattern, there's nothing that should be disrupting sleep. All he's doing is moving the receptacles in and out, which is light activity crossing a path, and the entity is providing what is amplification, loud crashing, extraordinarily loud noise, which is P.O.C. Okay, so while the dumpsters are not inside, I want you to show you this, and then I'm going to show you the terrorism that he's already documented engaging in. And he represents a company that I'm going to prosecute, whose pockets I'm going to drain. He represents the state of California that I'm going to prosecute. He represents the entity, the state, that is monitoring in concert with the corrupt government that uses any and everything that you do for purposes of targeting through the noise, targeting through the light activity that coexists, which is impossible, targeting in the environment, which is also a scientific impossibility. This is demon possession, and it's demonic activity. That demonic activity serves to harass an individual who is subject to that monitoring system, and it's a federal offense. It's a series of federal offenses. In addition, Universal Waste and the employees of Universal Waste who are engaged in group stalking and monitoring, forgive me, because these demons just woke me up, and so I have to get to the analysis in real time. So forgive me for my voice. So the entity is engaging in this criminal conduct. And with regard to the elements of monitoring and occurring in the workplace and group stalking a property manager, Universal Waste and the group stalkers that are working for this company, that is Universal Waste, are hiring the demon possessed. This is the people of the state still engaged in the same malicious guise under which federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. And they're also going to be prosecuted for workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is also simultaneously engaged in what is violating federal housing policies, because they have access while they're engaged in federal stalking, Title 18 criminal conduct. Secondly, you're engaged in violation of federal housing because they have social security numbers, private identification numbers, while I am reviewing the personal information of any of all these residents that are Section 8 participants, Section 8 recipients, and they're going to be removed, permanently disqualified from that program. Nonetheless, criminals such as the demons affiliated and working via UWS as a means of participating, facilitating the state's criminal system, they are engaged in what is the unlawful knowledge and sharing in concert with the demons such as Ty Lee. Okay, this is a demon who was monitoring while present in the path, stalking in the path with light. And that's why he's going to federal prison. He's monitoring while Universal Waste is the means of audible activity. He and all of the rest of them. The demons do not sleep. If you can see the engineer light in my apartment, that's indicative of what is not sleep and what is indicative of 24-hour surveillance. It's impossible light activity. And so while this demon is the means of what is harassment, which is indicative of a demon, in the same way that the engineered light is letting you know about demons and their presence and their criminal conduct, it is the same way with regard to the amplification. It is indicative of demons and their targeting conduct, their group stalking activity, and it is vicariously on behalf of the state. And while he is in the parking lot, he's not even an operation. He's near his vehicle. Let's look at it again. I want you to look at it yourself. Look at where he's at. He's sitting in the vehicle when I'm getting up. So I'm getting up because of the ongoing loud crashing sounds of what's supposed to be dumpsters. This is nothing other than amplification. Let me be clear. The entity creates amplification of that which is not even naturally heard. This is the ability, in the same way that you've seen engineer light appear above my head. This is satanic conduct. This is, in other words, stuff that's happening that's beyond your ability to define it. It's only my job to let you know that those demonic things are real and capable of happening. He's sitting in his vehicle, but seconds earlier, what's going on is, and by seconds earlier, I mean 2 seconds. It takes me not long at all to grab my phone and open my window. He's sitting in his car when the ongoing crashing sound of dumpsters, which has nothing to do with what he's actually doing. He's not emptying garbages. He's dragging them like you saw on the vehicle, and he's putting them back and forth into the receptacles. Even that is not going to create the ongoing crashing sounds, okay? He's monitoring in the same way that these demons are pacing in and out of a parking lot. These are random, by the way, demons that come onto the grounds. This is the people that are sex offenders, and they're engaging in sexual violence willy-nilly. This is why Uber is going to be prosecuted. This is why Amazon Prime is going to be prosecuted. This is how FedEx and UPS are going to be prosecuted, because all they have to do is come onto the grounds and cross path. That's what they're doing, engaging in the P.O.C. right now. Nonetheless, this demon is sitting in his vehicle. Nothing about this job that he's doing, like you saw him drive on a Silverview, none of that creates boom, boom, crash, boom, boom, none of that. None of it. And it's also occurring while he's actually sitting in his vehicle. And this is what I capture as I hop out of my bed to capture this demon on video who is engaged in what is a demonic means of terrorism and harassment. These demons are exceedingly hostile and they're psychotic. Another ground for separating them from the minor children that they have custody over. It's just one false move by those who they are in custody over, and you're talking about children being thrown out of their vehicles off of freeway branches into bodies of water. You see this on the news all the time, and then you get ongoing context about how there was no sign, there's no criminal record, how we had every no signs, and it was supposedly a happy family. These are demons. These are psychopaths targeting somebody who I don't even know him, and you know that it's targeting because of the specific environment. The specific environment includes amplification. The rest of these demons are monitoring. You've seen them engage including Universal Waste. You've seen them engage in what is the impossible. Light ricocheting while they're driving a car. They're all driving around in engineered light. They're all stalking, acting like LAPD's not doing circles around, doing donuts in the sky. They're a bunch of demons, and they are targeting me. None of them are being targeted. All of that is established by the evidence. The entity is engaged in keeping the light source in alignment with me, not over Luke Powell's window. In a position, for example, such that it's aiming light activity through Luke Powell's window of his apartment. You see the targeting, you recognize the targeting through the light activity and through the placement of the light source and through the stalking of the law enforcement agencies. They're acting in concert with the people of the state, they are acting in concert with what I'm documenting. But it's very clear who's being targeted, and it's also demonstrated and communicated through the amplified audible activity, and those are demons. demons. He's sitting in his vehicle while this ongoing chorus of crashing sounds for the purpose of disrupting sleep, because I'm dealing with a bunch of angry demons who are stalkers and sex offenders whose lives are going to be permeated, and they are very hostile. Do we need to revisit the great length of documentation that was captured again yesterday? Everybody, like I said, is going to federal prison, including Teresa Becerra. And she is, let me be clear, the same condition. Okay, and let me be clear, Teresa Becerra, while she's asking me questions, just as an aside, let me be clear. She was documented engaged in assault and battery as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, while she is the same entity asking me those asinine questions that demon knows the answer to. While the entity is stalking in a helicopter, she's the same entity engaged in the same group stalking, the same federal stalking, asking me questions about the attack that she waged against me. And that's the reality of what you're dealing with. That's a psychopath. That psychopath is sitting in their vehicle, not even engaging in any activity. Nonetheless, even the activity of removing the dumpsters off of their little forklift cars does not create an ongoing chorus of crashing. It is not something that should be creating an unreasonable nuisance, okay, while you're doing your job. That's not what this was designed to do. And he's repeatedly doing so. And then while I'm capturing video, look at where he's at. He's not even in any position to create that. He's sitting in the vehicle. He's sitting in the vehicle. So this is, again, capturing the demonic. The ongoing chorus of crashing sounds is heard, and there's nothing about what he does as his job, nor is it possible that it's occurring while he is in a position in his truck. This demon knows that I'm capturing video. This is why he gets out of his car and begins moving. Moving is the activity creation. Okay, closing the lid of the truck, amplified audible activity. Everything is louder as a demon engages in it. And everything also is occurring with regard to who that demon is focused on. This is what they're doing in the laundry room while I'm documenting Kum Lee, who's crossing path, and then the LAPD provide ongoing evidence against Kum Lee and everybody else here who's going to federal prison, while they then begin stalking in helicopter in a perceptible manner, because they were stalking in helicopters while Kum Lee was being a demon yesterday. And I document her on camera as she's crossing path outside of the laundry room. This is what this demon is using a dumpster truck. And he's not even in operation doing anything while this crashing sound is heard inside of my room. It is as impossible, it is as terrorizing, it is as harassing, it is within the same exact sex offense as engineer light moving across my ceiling, which I've also documented. And I've also documented them engaging in terrorism while engineer light moves across the building of 1818. We're going to look at that as well, because he's going to federal prison, and I'm going to drain the pockets of universal waste. So he gets out of this vehicle. Sounds, and you'll see that the dumpster is actually outside of the room right now. Okay, closing a dumpster is not going to be amplified such that it's disturbing your sleep and everybody's sleep. If there's no target individual, then you're disrupting everybody's sleep. Everyone is hearing that at the same time, in the same way that the sun's remaining over everyone, everywhere, all day long, no matter where you're at for the duration of the day, from the beginning to the end of the day. Not the natural environment, and also not the natural volume of what this demon is engaging in with real-time knowledge that he's being documented. This is revealing the mental illness of the demon possessed. Okay, this is a psychopath who's monitoring in real time and who is engaged in targeting me while I'm inside. This is exactly why you're going to remove these psychopaths who derives gratification to their own demise. You are literally okay, nothing against those who may work for, who are not demon possessed, who are not group stalking people, who may work for a dumpster company. Okay, I'm not talking to the normal American men and women of this country. Okay, I am talking to a demon-possessed, psychotic, sex-offending, monitoring population who need the Lord Jesus. They need deliverance. But first of all, they need prosecution and exposure, because Satan's secrets, that's where power lies. So it's my job to do both. I'm going to expose it, and then I'm going to prosecute you and make an example out of you. So the entity is engaging. This is what's so pathetic. You are a loser. You empty garbage for a living, and even that, you're stalking using that pathetic position in life. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Satan. Okay, and this puppet of Satan is sitting in a dumpster truck targeting somebody else because he knows I don't serve Satan. He's an inferior being, and I'm just talking about the reality. This is why you have a demonic spirit on you, and you're targeting me. I'm just letting you know about the spiritual truth that's at work right here while he's group stalking. In concert with the whole population, including demons that are sitting in a helicopter stalking me. That's how important I am. That's not a compliment. That's terrorism, while a demon-possessed population is targeting you. Okay, so this is the reality of he's getting out of his vehicle. Excuse me, outside of the little section, the receptacle area. All right, this is documentation of terrorism by Universal Waste. And what is a loud crashing? Where's the loud crashing coming from while he's sitting in his car? Because that's exactly what was happening. And as soon as I get out, he then resumes looking as though he's doing something that has nothing. That's the mental illness of the demon possessed. They're all targeting you. They're all focused on you. And you're looking at them engaging. Oh, this is just traffic. Oh, we're just walking around. Oh, we're just driving on and off the property. They're all demons together stalking and monitoring you. That's revealing the mental illness of the population. Okay. There's nothing you're doing. You're clearly stalking in helicopters when you're flying over my apartment and my office and all around me all day long. And that's on its face. I don't even have to dice into the details of the P.O.C. That's what these corrupt law enforcement agencies. And then you're talking about the P.O.C. is built to show you that these demons are targeting while those corrupt police departments are heavily stalking. That's the implosion of the system. That evidence is going to be used against each other. This is what I mean. And this is literally an inherently inferior entity in every way. So you're sitting in your car and then you want to resume looking like you're emptying the garbage. And that's the substance of what is no explanation for the loud crashing while this demon was sitting in the vehicle. This is the demonic that I'm subject to, demonic targeting while he's just sitting in his car. And then he gets out. Closing the dumpster is not equivalent of what is the loud crashing. Okay, that's not going to disturb your sleep. But it is amplified audible activity, and all the demons that are targeting together and engaged in federal stalking can monitor to it. They also derive pleasure while they all know that I'm being woken up. This is harassment by the entity. I'm going to drain the pockets of speaker companies. Nobody's going to live here because this property I'm literally going to drain the pockets. You're not going to be able to get Section 8 here, nor is anybody qualified to get Section 8. They're all going to be prosecuted for violating the federal housing policies, and they're all going to federal prison that live here. The minor children are going to be removed from living, from being with these, the people of the state, in other words. And then you're talking about what is the inability to continue providing the federal housing benefit. I'm going to drain the pockets and this property, whatever you decide, but it likely will not. It's not going to be here. None of these people are going to be here. I'll tell you that. And neither will universal waste. Okay. This entity is acting in concert with real-time knowledge, engaged in federal stalking on the internet, knows that I get up and start capturing video, steps out of his vehicle and starts closing the dumpster on the truck, which is no form for meaning not providing any persuasive appearance as the explanation for the loud crashing of dumpsters into the depths of my apartment, in the same way that engineered light on my ceiling is no explanation as sunlight, while the light source remains all day long, including over, for example, an Upland Public Library and lights appearing on my ceiling in Los Angeles. Okay. Sounds, and you'll see that the dumpster is actually outside of the room right now. Excuse me. And that's the other aspect. What is crashing while you're sitting in your car? You're closing the lid, and then all you're doing is pushing it. All you're doing is pushing it inside. So all he's doing, this demon's job. He's got one job. This loser has one job. Okay, and he's group stalking while he's doing it, which is what all the demon possessed are doing. He's got one job: drag it on the truck and push it into the little concrete area. He makes it as loud as possible. This is a demon that's targeting through any and everything that he's doing. He's an absolute demon-possessed psychopath. If he has any minor children, and I mean, that's just assuming that that's just one employee. Universal Waste is going to find out. They're going to be permeated. All the details, it's going to be permeated with regard to the terrorism that they're systematically facilitating and engaging in. This is no small thing. This is what a targeted individual, absent any voice, all right, that's engaged in what is another means of terrorism on behalf of a corrupt state that uses any and everyone and everything for engaging in the same exact elements of monitoring. Amplification is a demonic feature. Stalking with activity creation, stalking with light activity creation, that is the simultaneity with which the targeted individual acts. That's a demonic feature. That is what you're looking at all times and all ways when you're focusing on the elements and you're recognizing demonic activity, which is what is federal group stalking and monitoring. Okay, and it's a government system. You're going to prosecute for all the means of terrorism. While demons act engaging in ambush conduct all day long, lying in wait, engaging in following everything you're doing with presence and activity, using even helicopters to be the most explosive means of stalking. Okay, not a show of power, showing how, wow, those psychopaths need to be removed from their position. They have nothing else better to do. They like to engage in stalking and terrorism using helicopters. Their lives are going to be permeated. They're going to be removed from those positions. The chief of police is fired by virtue of that documentation, and they're going to federal prison as well. Okay, they're going to be removed from the minor children. This is how the analysis is going to be consistent. Any and everybody that wants to be engaged in group stalking, that's how you're going to be treated. Like the mentally ill, danger to society that you are. Period. So I want to make sure I document that the entity derives pleasure out of me dissecting their mental illness, dissecting their criminal system. It's my pleasure. That's what I do. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct at 6:46 in the morning on behalf of Dominic Choi's Los Angeles Police Department, who you see engaged in a wealth of provision of evidence against them. This is the ongoing P.O.C. What you're also going to witness Universal Waste engaging in while they're terrorizing via amplified audible activity, while that demon is being a sex offender, monitoring someone on behalf of the people of the state and the state of California inside of the private space, which is also maintenance of the specific environment. You're going to remember the act of terrorism that this documented group stalker is already captured engaging in. And that is via what is the impossible occurrence of engineered light while group stalking with the same corrupt government. And this is captured during the same time of year at 9:03 in the morning, where, by the way, April 29th, which is the day that I captured this, April 29th, 2022, where I am at third-party facilitating venue, which is actually a state facilitating venue. Fontana Lewis Library is San Bernardino County, which is group stalking. That's the state, by the way, in the same way that the DMV is indicative of the state, by the way. That is group stalking, okay? So Fontana Lewis Library is where I'm at on the same day in 2022, and at 9:03 a.m., there's no sun that's going to be over my head as you see it in the window of this demon, the same commercial actor, Universal Waste, who was targeting by virtue of presence, targeting by virtue of crossing in path, and the light activity that you see ricocheting off of the car. No, that's a demon who's admitting the fact that they're group stalking with the state. They're making it a mission against the whole entity, by the way. That's exactly how you're going to analyze it. It's the same impossible light activity that you see occurring above my head in my bedroom on my ceiling while I'm documenting group stalkers such as Amazon Prime. Okay, it's the same entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. You're looking at the same elements, the same demonic features of those elements, while you're looking at the different iterations of the demonic activity happening over and over and over again. You are recognizing the system. Okay, and so this is what's happening by this same actor who's he's going to federal prison, and he's going to find himself in a straitjacket. And this is sad because this is what serving Satan gets you. You make your own decisions. They're not puppets in that they don't know what they're doing. They can't control. They decide to serve Satan. They are obsessively consumed by that spirit. And while they serve Satan, they will face destruction of their entire lives. And the exposure of the fact that you serve Satan, which is shameful, especially in the positions that many of them calling themselves followers of the Lord Jesus. No, you're not. You are not. If you've been told those lies before, you are not while you're serving Satan. And in addition to that, you're a threat to any and everybody else, because this level of devotion to Satan, this level of service to Satan, group stalking, which is demon possession, you are engaged in what is the definition, the quintessence of cruelty and inhumanity to mankind. By virtue of serving Satan. And by the way, Satan hates both his puppets and those who Satan cannot possess. He hates you. Okay, so I'm going to stop preaching, but I want you to see how Satan is using Universal Waste, which is a third-party group stalker. He's going to federal prison. This directed light conduct is going to result in what are mental examinations of the entity that's terrorizing another. To the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with... They are engaging in monitoring in the light source is seen through the window of this vehicle, so let's slowly go back. Pay attention. You'll see it as he drives by me, the light source through the window right there, okay? It's not over the Fontana Lewis Library, by the way, which is where I was at on this same day, April 29, 2022, at 9:03 in the morning. I remained there until Stephanie Ortiz engaged in criminal summoning, which is why she's going to federal prison. This is why the officer that arrived, masquerading as an officer, having no legal jurisdiction, the Fontana Chief of Police is fired. You're talking about group stalking as I went to the Fontana Police Department. I'll digress because that documentation is already published. But this is what I'm saying. While the entity engages to its own demise, criminal conduct, as an entity, you're being exposed and prosecuted at the same time. This is the comprehensive ability of the P.O.C. to prosecute a corrupt government. They are engaging in monitoring in the private space as well. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they're engaged in this act of terrorism, coming onto the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with the state and LAPD. All over that is building. The impossible light moving across the building while... And you see the same demon, Ty Lee, group stalking, just like he is in the morning. This demon does not... Hold on. This demon... Sorry. I don't know why this is turning on. Turn that off. This demon does not take any rest. I want you to see this. You saw Ty Lee group stalking, getting in his vehicle. Ty Lee is a heavily documented group stalker. This demon has devoted him and his demon-possessed wife, Carol Lee, and their adult children. I believe their children may have been born in the U.S., but Carol Lee and Ty Lee have been granted naturalization. That is gone, and they are demonstrating on an ongoing basis how they are begging to be deported out of this country, being group stalkers with the corrupt government. And you see them group stalking in this video at 6 in the morning. They're devoted to that, and they're group stalking in the path while engineered lights moving across an apartment building. This is the group stalking system that's underway, and I want you to see that. That's tightly group stalking, okay? And that's the mental illness. And every way you're looking at the elements of monitoring, and the demon possessed want to outwardly appear. But this is what is so unintelligent about this entity. Nobody's going to overlook this engineered light. Nobody's going to overlook the ongoing documentation of what's not possible with the sun. Nobody is a fool. The only fool is this demon possessed entity that thinks it can terrorize somebody in helicopters and nobody's going to bring you down to reality. That's the only fool, okay? Those that are serving Satan. And that revelation is occurring through the criminal conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. So I want you to see this light activity up close. It's moving all over this apartment building. This is the same entity that's targeting me this morning while this demon is sitting in a car, and the ongoing course of crashing dumpsters. And none of that has to do with dragging a dumpster into these concrete sections and driving off and going about your business. But Satan engages in amplified audible activity, and they're also engaging in a sex offense, and it's going against all of the entity, including Teresa Becerra. Okay, you're a group stalker. You're engaged in the elements of monitoring. You are part of that same entity that engages in assault and battery, that engages in what is an ongoing sex offense, that engages in workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence, that is engaging in what is amplified audible activity, while the demon only has one job: put the dumpsters in and out of the concrete sections, go about your business. But that's not what Satan is capable of doing. Okay, this is the P.O.C. Look at this light activity all over this apartment. Thursdays and Fridays, they're engaged in this act of terrorism, coming onto the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements monitoring with the state and LAPD. That is the impossible light moving across the building, while Ty-M is... That is demonic. It has nothing to do with sunlight and the light sources over me. That's what Universal Waste is committed to engaging in. This is what they're doing. And while they're engaged in the elements of monitoring here at 6 in the morning, this is a sex offender. This is a demon that knows that I'm in bed, knows that, and this is the reality because you see the targeting conduct with the light source and with the light activity. These demons know exactly who I am and where I'm at and what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And they're also engaged in monitoring on the venue of the internet. So everything, as I'm capturing video, they're sitting there watching as well. This is why you have real-time reaction, providing evidence against, for example, Teresa Becerra. As I type out on the computer, she's group stalking, creating audible activity while LAPD flies over. What do you have? LAPD flying directly over me. Okay, that's the pattern of conduct. And while they're targeting, and they being Universal Waste through a demon that's group stalking with the entity that's pacing around. This is a demon stalking in the path with light. That's what you saw them doing in concert with Susanna Martinez while the light source is over me and the entities pacing around in helicopters. This whole property is going to be removed from the minor children that they're in custody of. They're dedicated to the criminal act of federal group stalking and monitor and committing a sex offense while they're crossing path and creating a method of light activity, engaged in federal stalking as well. This whole property, Silverview Townhomes, documented with the light source over that property, which is the direct evidence of that. A whole body of evidence showing that that's not possibly the sun. It is pinning them down to what is the crime of a very serious offense committed on behalf of a corrupt government, which I want to let you know now. You don't want no parts of that, but this is what the people of the state are doing now. But I want to let you know the rest of the country is going to learn. You don't want any parts of that. I'm going to warn you, you do not want any parts of that. Okay, so the entity is engaged in what is documentation of targeting in the same way you see a demon targeting, which is Universal Waste targeting with engineered light, that this demon is targeting with amplified audible activity. And that's why you see them, he's not even doing anything, he's sitting in the truck. Nothing that he is doing is going to create that unreasonable nuisance, okay? While they're hostile, that's it. And engaged in ongoing monitoring. Okay, it is currently, I wanted to go through all that since they wanted to engage in that P.O.C. That's probably exactly what needed to be done, so that's fine. It is 6:54 a.m. It is May 17, 2024, and this is P.O.C.